It's not my journey, it's a guide to your journey. AI and you.
Hi, folks. Welcome to AI and You with Julie Johnson. I'm Laurel Bellman. I'm an event manager within the Division of Information Technology, and I'm very happy to welcome you all to this session on AI and You. To introduce our speaker, Julie Johnson is a security analyst who specializes in testing and cyber defense at the Division of Information Technology here at UW-Madison. And the convergence of AI and cybersecurity has presented a really distinct set of challenges that she's really interested in exploring and has been for some time. So this is going to be a great session. If you have any questions or any comments, just go ahead and pop those in the chat and I will read those out to Julie so she doesn't have to keep her eye on the chat and her presentation at the same time. And then we'll have some time at the end for some questions, and we'll go ahead and then take it from there. Julie, you want to go ahead and get going?
Thank you, Laurel.
Hmm.
AI and You is not about my journey. It's a guide to your journey.
Slide title. Planning a route requires three things.
I don't know where you personally are in AI, but if you're here, I'm assuming that there is something you want to do with AI or know about it that you aren't currently doing. And we can compare this, metaphorically speaking, to traveling from place to place on the ground. So I'm going to use that as a quick metaphor. Planning a trip requires where you are now, where you want to go, and a map, either paper or electronic. This is from Google Maps, but any mapping software could be used for a demonstration or metaphor like this.
Two brothers, time together and time apart.
For the illustration, we will imagine two brothers that want to spend some time as individuals and some time together. Bill starts his vacation at Red Rock Canyon, and he wants to take a leisurely trip with intermediate stops and eventually meet Tim at the Grand Canyon. Tim starts his vacation at Zion National Park and wants to meet Bill at the Grand Canyon. But unlike Bill, Tim wants to make it a trip in one day.
The map.
So we'll start with him because Tim has an easier goal. And he doesn't really need AI at all. This is just a basic Google Maps output. He's got one primary route that's the fastest, optional scenic route that takes just slightly longer that he will probably prefer. And he's got a plan. Now, Bill can do the same thing with Google Maps, but in his case, because of the scenario, he's less likely to be satisfied with the result. The parts of Arizona and Nevada he's traveling through have a straightforward highway route that's not very interesting and does not really have the kind of intermediate stops or obvious overnight location that he's looking for. So this is where AI can be useful.
The prompt to an AI.
Prompt engineering could be a significant topic itself. The simplest way to put it is to be clear about what you want. In this case, the request is, please help plan a 3-day trip from Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area to Grand Canyon National Park South Rim.
Gemini gives more detail than Google Maps, including suggested stops.
Gemini, which is the one I used in this particular slide, gives a lot more detail than Google Maps, including suggested stops. The actual Gemini result was much more detailed than what I'm showing you here. I condensed it to fit in one slide because we aren't planning an actual trip. We're just looking at how AI helps Bill with the process. There's suggestion stops like Hoover Dam, Kingman for an overnight, dinner recommendation that fits Route 66, which is one of the major attractions in the area, the historic highway itself, and some tourist attractions along it. On its own, Google Maps did not recognize Route 66 as desirable. When looking for a multi-day trip with points of interest, Gemini did recognize this.
If you have concerns about AI.
Now that is a metaphor, but the most important element of that metaphor is we start at different points and maybe have different goals, although in the example, I assumed a common destination. If you're starting your AI journey or at where you are on your AI journey and have significant concerns, you're not alone. Just last year, Pew Research data said that approximately 50% of Americans are more concerned about AI than they are excited about it. And another 40% are equally concerned and excited. There is just 10% that are more excited than concerned. Now, I'm definitely in the more excited than concerned minority, but I'm aware of potential risks and I'm aware of some of the concerns other people have. So what I can do here is not assure you that there are no risks, which would be a lie. There are risks. But if you understand the potential risks and how to mitigate them, that can help you use AI effectively and safely.
Where are you with AI?
When I ask people where they are with AI, in a very general sense, I get answers everywhere in this range, from not even sure what it means to people who use it regularly and are confident using it like I am. Now, because this is an IT conference, I will be focusing more on people who have already used it a little and want to improve rather than total beginners. But if there are any beginners here, these are the kind of generic first dip in the water of AI things that you can do with little risk. Planning a low-cost day trip, uploading a picture of yourself and asking AI for a caricature, that's kind of fun. Collaborating with AI in a fiction story, or asking AI to proofread a draft of something that will also be checked by other people so that you are not trusting AI by itself, but using it as an additional set of digital eyes on the content. All those are very, very safe and very beginner friendly.
AI is an excellent proofreader.
AI proofreading deserves its own slide because it was one of the first things I ever did with AI in the production world, and also something that I do almost every day. It's an excellent proofreader in terms of the ability to spot the exact kind of mistakes that humans tend to miss, such as misuse of similar words like then and than. It can look at spelling errors, look at context, and guess what you want a lot better than the autocorrect and word processors. Misplaced punctuation, it's pretty good at detecting. Another thing that AI can do that conventional grammar checkers do very poorly or cannot do at all is if you tell the AI what audience you want to reach, it can recognize if you're talking down to your audience, or conversely, if what you're saying might be too hard to understand. If, for instance, you're talking about AI to high school students, AI might point out things that are too complex for them to have likely experienced and help you adjust it to meet that audience. What makes this a very safe use in production with current technology is you write the content. You probably have AI as one of your reviewers rather than the only reviewer.
An AI picture of a puppy.
I could not resist including the slide of the presentation. Asking AI to generate a cute image of the puppy in the snow is fun. It's cute, and it's also a good way to get comfortable with AI.
Slide title: Are there security risks with AI?
On a more serious note, one of the questions I get most often is, are there security risks with AI? Definitely. A lot of the threats in AI are very similar to threats we in cybersecurity see in other IT areas. It's not exotic so much as threat actors adapting their attacks to the new platform or the new environment. One of the most common being prompt injection. Now, injection attacks are a complex subject. I could easily fill a presentation with how it works. But typically the threat actor will enter text, then some form of delimiter that ends the text string, followed by code. The AI will end up executing the code, which can cause the AI to behave in ways harmful to the intended user and beneficial to the threat actor. It's very similar to how SQL injection and various forms of script injection work. Training data poisoning, that's mainly misinformation, but it can also be used to inject. Backdoors, triggered by a specific input and very hard to detect. One that sounds more AI specific, but is actually a concern that has gone back as long as the computers have existed, is allowing too much automation, particularly in high stakes environments like currently self-driving cars, industrial control systems, and medical use. If AI is going to be incorporated in any area where life, limb, or high value property could be harmed, there has to be test, 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 test again. And even then, with the current state of technology and in the foreseeable future, there has to be a person in the loop available to override the AI if something is going wrong. We cannot simply let AI have agency or excessive independent control. Dangerous. Plain old misuse, academic dishonesty, that is a real problem in a university. It's a problem in every university. Students simply presenting AI-generated content as if they wrote it. And then it's, sorry. And that's just plain cheating. So is plagiarism. Threat actors also weaponize AI, creating AI-crafted fish that are particularly convincing, often defeating the checks and security training, awareness training that exist currently. That makes it much harder to detect a fish. And we will have to improve our awareness training to take that into account, but we can only do that iteratively. So phishing becomes much more problematic. Faked voice scams, you've probably heard of those. Those are a real problem. The AI will clone a person's voice and then use that to fake a loved one in distress, often targeting vulnerable people with limited tech awareness, and get them to send money to a threat actor. That's one of the most malicious deceptions, but there are also other very convincing but deceptive communications that come from AI. So yes, there are some very serious risks involved. But just like all parts of AI, or IT, I should say, have significant security risks, and those of us in security have seen most of this before.
Slide title: Can AI make mistakes?
People ask if AI can make mistakes. Yes. And there's several reasons it happens. The most common is the data sources. Whether it is curated training data or data that the AI finds itself by crawling the web. Nothing is perfect. There can also be simple bugs, technical malfunctions, or logic errors that result in incorrect output. Another common reason for mistakes is that the prompt is not interpreted as the user intended. This is a simplistic example. But if I ask the AI if it is 4 p.m. in Washington, what time is it in Honolulu? The AI assumed that I meant Washington, the capital, so it gave the answer of 10 a.m. But if I was actually referring to Washington State, the AI would have been guessing wrong. And that's something that That can easily happen with AI, and while a good prompt is specific, you would not say if it's 4 p.m. in Washington, you would say if it's 4 p.m. in Washington, D.C., or if it's 4 p.m. in Washington State. Be sure of the correct answer.
Does AI hallucinate?
Can AI hallucinate? In IT, you have probably heard the term AI hallucination. And it is true that AI does not hallucinate in a neurological sense because it's software. The term can be offensive to some developers. The term has been applied to describe situations where the AI will give information that's objectively false, but present it with the kind of confidence that makes people tempted to trust the AI or unaware that the AI is guessing. The most common reason this happens is either inaccurate data or AI efforts to fill in the blanks in available data. An example would be if you attempt to create a photorealistic image of a person based on a sketch. The AI may add details that the sketch did not include or interpret exaggerations in the sketch as realistic. My individual experience, the AI is much more prone to hallucinate when the internet connection is poor, because the AI is not able to reach its training data or its data sets appropriately. And then, unfortunately, it will base information and base answers on the best information it has and sound completely confident without informing you that this is the best guess or a best effort result. Now, right now, we don't have a mitigation for this that will make sure that it never hallucinates. It's something we need to be aware of and why we need to verify important information when we ask AI.
Slide title, Using AI to Help with Coding.
Coding. We went into proofreading a few slides ago, but AI can be used in the same way with coding. It will not write code for you, but it can help you write code faster and more efficiently. It can also help identify a bug, particularly when you're looking for a specific logic error. Think of it as a tool to speed up your workflow rather than as a means of auto-generating code, which it cannot do. I asked Copilot to describe the process, and Copilot said, treat it like a junior developer with infinite patience.
Slide title, Bad prompts result in bad code.
Now, a bad prompt will result in bad code. An example would be if I ask Python to write, or if I ask AI, to write a Python catch block for reading from a file that could be damaged. That's too vague a prompt. No context, and if there is code generated, it would be generic output that probably would not meet your needs and would be very difficult to trust without significant human recoding. A better prompt gives AI the purpose and the context of what you are intending to do. For instance, as a case example, I tell the AI I'm attempting to recover data from very old disks. Some files may be unreadable. If a file will not open correctly, log it and continue processing. And then I ask AI to generate a Python try except block for that. You see the results on the right-hand side? This is executable code. It's not the complete block because that would have taken several slides, but it does show that AI is very capable of generating code to meet our specifications. But that doesn't complete the process. AI writes drafts, I finalize the code. Even good output is just a starting point. In the scenario we've got here, you may still need to add more detailed logging, particularly if the file metadata is readable, even if the content is not. That might be useful for documentation or if the data you're looking for may still exist somewhere else. Comments. There were no comments in the code snippet I showed you, but larger coding generation will have very, very basic comments at the end of or at the beginning of a complex loop or a function. But that is rarely enough for maintainability or in line with most teams' conventions. So you will need to add comments to fit your needs. Sometimes you also need to add security checks, particularly if you're working with old data, as in this example, because there's the potential that it could contain malware or simply corruption that might cause other programs to hang when you attempt to use the data. But the code that the AI generated is a useful starting point.
For those who use AI and want to improve.
For those who are currently using AI and want to improve, there's a lot of learning opportunities out there. SANS courses are expensive. Not everyone here has access to them. But for those who do, there are a number of options that combine where to use AI in a specific area with other content that is very useful as well. If you don't have SANS options, LinkedIn Learning is less expensive and is included for professional development for a lot of us. UW itself has continuing education courses. Beyond formal training, peer-to-peer learning is very important as well. Ask questions from your team and share what you learn as part of your community. Even if you don't get up and do a presentation at a conference, you can share what you learn or experience or give pointers to your team. Expect to keep learning. AI is developing very rapidly. Now, I would be doing an injustice to the people listening here if I did not include this list of things you should never do because they're dangerous. Do not upload restricted, sensitive, or high-risk data to any AI without specific authorization. Do not express any kind of social bias or prejudice with AI, even if you're the only human being involved in the chat. The AI can learn from you and repeat these phrases in places that harm someone. Never attempt to circumvent guardrails put in place for everyone's safety. There is a reason current consumer AI refuses to give medical advice. Do not generate content that is in any way erotic, violent, graphic, or degrading. Do not use AI to deceive or manipulate people for any reason, even as a joke. It's not funny.
An image of a man.
Always be careful with photorealistic images of people, even if you don't intend to depict a real person. For this example, I asked ChatGPT for an image of a typical college student. Now, it's not supposed to represent a specific person, but it may be very, very close. AI training data is based on images of real people. So there might be someone, it's not anyone I can recognize, but there might be someone out there that looks very much like this. For that reason, it's best to avoid using realistic pictures in ways that could embarrass or degrade someone, even if you don't intend to show a real person.
Slide title, closing.
Now, I think we do have some time for a few questions here. Do we have any questions, Laurel?
Not yet, but it often gives, we often need to give folks a little bit of time to pop something into the chat. Or you are welcome also to unmute yourself if you would prefer to do that. It's often a little faster. As we wait for questions, I have one, which is, do you have any recommendations for folks who might receive pressure from other people who might have been promised, had received grand promises of what AI could do, or just have false expectations of what AI can do? How would you recommend us folks in IT respond to that pressure?
Two parts. The first part is a lot of these promises, the ones I've heard, are based on future projection rather than current technology. So patience is one of the most important elements when you have expectations that are not met. It may be, depending on exactly what the expectation is, it may be coming down the pipe, but just not there yet. Beyond that, there is a need for catch. A need to bring expectations in line with reality, as there is in so many cases where you hear that any future technology is going to solve every problem you're worried about. It just might not happen. And adjusting expectations is sometimes necessary. So is learning to use the tool more effectively. The first time I tried to use AI to find a bug in a Python script, I was very disappointed and at times angry. But what I realized was the script was too big for the AI to analyze all at once. Once I got it down to which function the problem was happening when, then the AI could help. So it was more of a human AI collaboration than telling the AI, this is a bug, find it and fix it. If you expect that, you're going to be disappointed.
That's great
Thanks
advice.
Thanks for the starter question, Laurel. That was a good one.
Well, that's one that I hear a lot from folks. I think particularly folks who work a lot with faculty and academia and students. They read a lot, they hear a lot, and what they hear and read might not always be accurate. And they then look to us as the experts for advice. Does anyone else have a question or comment for Julie? That's a good sign, Julie. I think that means that you did a fantastic job. You covered all the bases. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us. We're going to have a short break, and then we will see everybody for additional sessions beginning at 12:20. You're getting lots of kudos in the chat, Julie. Well done.
Thanks.